Dust hung in the late summer air like an unspoken truth. It was quiet in the town of Clearwater. Too quiet. Children played in the dusty street. Shopkeepers swept their porches, and the saloon doors creaked only when the wind pushed through. From the outside it looked like peace, but underneath it all was a quiet tension, like something was missing. Something or someone. 10 years ago, Sheriff Elias Hart rode out of Clearwater without a word. Some folks said he'd gone mad after the fire. Others whispered about betrayal. The truth? No one asked. They just elected a new sheriff and let the old one fade into desert wind and rumor. But Elias didn't die out there in the canyons. He survived. Now miles away in a crooked cabin overlooking a pine ridge, Elias lived with quiet routines and quiet regrets. He hunted, he read, and he listened to the silence that came after people forgot your name. Until one August afternoon he heard hooves. Hard, fast, urgent. A rider barely made it to the porch before collapsing. A boy no older than 12. Elias caught him before he hit the ground. "Bandits!" the boy gasped. "Coming for the town! They took my sister!" Then he passed out cold. Elias stood still for a long time. The name of the town, the boy whispered. Clearwater. The same one that turned their backs on him when he needed them most. But now their children were in danger. And Elias Hart was still a lawman, even if no badge hung on his chest anymore. He saddled up, loaded his rifle, took the star he'd buried under floorboards a decade ago and pinned it to his vest. Not because it was official, but because it still meant something to him. The ride back into town was slow, calculated. His mind swam with memories, the fire, the vote, the woman who didn't defend him. But it all faded the moment he crossed the town's edge and saw the tracks in the dirt. Small boot prints, fresh wagon wheels, and blood. They didn't know it yet, but Clearwater needed their forgotten sheriff back. And this time, he wouldn't leave until justice had a name again. The first faces to see Elias ride back into Clearwater were the ones that had cast him out. Old men on porches paused their rocking. A barkeep dropped a bottle mid-polish. A woman clutching a baby stared wide-eyed before darting inside. He didn't speak, didn't nod, just tied his horse outside the sheriff's office, his old office, and stepped inside like he'd never left. It was empty. Dust on the desk, keys rusted, no star on the wall. The current sheriff? Nowhere in sight. Elias looked at the desk, the bullet scar on the far wall, the hat rack where his duster once hung. It was like the room had been waiting for him. Then she walked in. Claire Dalton, the woman whose silence hurt him more than any bullet. She hadn't aged much. Her eyes still carried that fierce glint, though they were tired now. She wore a worn apron over a shop dress, and when she saw him standing in the shadow of the old badge, she froze. "Elias?" He nodded once. She stepped closer, voice low. "They said you were dead." "They say a lot when they want to forget." She flinched, but then she whispered, "Did the boy make it?" Elias's eyes narrowed. "You knew he was coming?" Her lips trembled. "He's mine." The weight of the words hit harder than any blow. The boy, Sam, was hers, and from the way Claire's eyes shifted, from the way her hands clutched the fabric of her apron, he wasn't just hers, he was theirs. Elias stepped back, chest rising slowly. "You sent him." Claire blinked fast, holding back years that threatened to spill over. "I didn't know what else to do. Sheriff Kane, he left. Town council's full of cowards. When the raiders came, I told Sam to find you." He turned away, fists clenched. 10 years of silence. 10 years of exile. And now he was expected to save the same people who let him burn. But the thought of that boy, the one who looked at him with Claire's same eyes, he couldn't walk away. "I'll bring your daughter back," he said without looking at her. Claire gasped. "You know?" "I knew the moment he said they took his sister." He turned, finally meeting her gaze. "I'll bring her home, but this time, Claire..." He stepped closer, voice steady. "You don't get to disappear when it's over." Outside, the clouds gathered like a warning. But Elias Hart had returned to Clearwater, and something more dangerous than outlaws had followed him. Truth. The trail was fresh. Broken branches kicked up dust, the sharp imprint of steel horseshoes. Elias followed them without pause, his rifle slung across his shoulder and every muscle tight with memory. He wasn't just hunting bandits. He was hunting the man he once trained. A day earlier, before the boy reached his cabin, a group of raiders rode into Clearwater and didn't demand gold or cattle. They wanted children, said they were collecting collateral for a debt owed by the town council. A private deal gone wrong, sealed with promises and broken by cowardice. When no one stood up, they took Maggie Dalton, Claire's daughter, and 2 other children. Left a message behind. "If you want them back, send the one you betrayed." Elias had read those words before leaving town. He'd recognized the handwriting. Cole Mercer. Once he was a deputy under Elias. Ambitious, sharp, eager to impress. But when Elias was disgraced, Cole stayed behind. and rose fast in the ranks under a new sheriff with dirtier hands. Then he vanished, and now he was a bandit, no longer wearing a badge, but still demanding justice in his own twisted way. The canyon ahead narrowed. The wind whistled low between the rocks. Elias dismounted, crouching near a tuft of bloodied cloth. Maggie's. A little pink bow from her dress still clung to a thorn bush. His jaw clenched. Just ahead, voices echoed off the stone. Men laughing, talking about poker and payoffs. The camp. He counted at least 6, including Cole. Elias slid along the shadows of the rock wall until he reached the edge of the clearing. There, tied to a wagon wheel, was Maggie, curled up, dirt on her cheeks, lips trembling. 2 boys sat beside her, no older than 9. She wasn't crying. She was glaring at Cole Mercer, just like her mother used to glare at Elias when she was angry. Elias almost smiled. Cole stood near the fire, drinking from a tin cup, pistol low at his hip. "You sure Hart'll come?" one of the men asked. Cole snorted. "Oh, he'll come. He's still got that damn hero complex." The firelight flickered across his face, thinner than Elias remembered, with eyes darker than they'd once been. Elias raised his rifle, but he didn't shoot. Not yet. He had a plan. He had to get the kids out before bullets flew. And he had a message for Cole. You can steal a badge, you can lie with a gun, but a real sheriff never forgets who he swore to protect. And Elias' heart still remembered. Elias waited until night swallowed the canyon. He'd marked the guards' shifts, memorized their steps, watched for the one moment every camp has. When the fire dims, the men relax, and the silence settles in too deep. That's when he moved. From a low ridge, Elias tossed a rock across the far side of camp. It clattered down a ravine. 2 guards drew their guns and went to check, just like he planned. Elias slipped in from the opposite side, moving like a shadow. His boots made no sound on the sand. His breath held tight in his chest. He reached the wagon where the children were tied. Maggie saw him first. Her eyes widened, but she didn't make a sound. She was her mother's daughter. Elias knelt beside her, pulled a blade from his boot, and whispered, "Don't move, sweetheart. I'm getting you home." She nodded once, brave even with her lip bleeding. He cut the ropes quietly, then turned to the 2 boys. But as he reached to free them, a branch snapped. One of the boys, in his panic, had stepped back too far and crushed dry wood underfoot. Instantly, the camp lit up. "Hey!" Men scrambled, boots thundered, guns cocked. And standing in the center, lantern held high, was Cole Mercer. His eyes met Elias's from across the fire. "Well, I'll be damned," Cole said, smirking. "You really did come back." Elias stood slowly, placing himself between the children and the bandits. "Let the kids go, Cole." Cole chuckled, walking closer. "You always did care too much. Thought maybe 10 years in the wilderness would fix that." Elias narrowed his eyes. "You always talked too much." Then chaos. Elias threw a smoke bomb from his saddlebag, one of the last tools from his sheriff days. It burst with a hiss, and a thick gray fog rolled through the camp. He grabbed Maggie and the boys, ducked low, and ran toward the horses. Gunfire cracked, sparks flew, but the smoke did its job. In the confusion, Elias cut 3 horses loose, hoisted Maggie up behind his saddle, and shouted to the boys, "Ride south, don't stop!" They rode like hell. Behind them, angry shouts filled the air, but no shots followed. Cole didn't want to kill the kids. He wanted Elias. By dawn, Elias returned the children to the edge of Clearwater. Claire was waiting. She ran to Maggie, tears falling, arms outstretched. "Oh, baby, oh God, thank you, thank you." Maggie looked back at Elias as she ran into her mother's arms. "Papa saved us." The word hit him like thunder. Claire froze. So did half the town. Elias tipped his hat low, not saying a word. He turned, climbed into the saddle, and began to ride off again. But this time, Claire called after him. "Don't go." Elias didn't look back right away. Claire's voice stopped him halfway down the main street, but it was the way she said it. Not desperate, not pleading. It was steady, strong. He turned his horse slowly and met her eyes across the dust and silence. "I need to talk to you," she said, still holding Maggie. Alone, the town watched in breathless stillness as the 2 disappeared into her home. The house was small but clean. A single oil lamp lit the front room. Maggie went to bed with a warm blanket and whispered promise that her mama would be there soon. Claire poured coffee, hands shaking. She didn't drink it. Elias stood near the doorway, arms folded. "Talk." She looked up. Her voice cracked. "Sam and Maggie are yours." He didn't flinch. He'd known it. But hearing it finally was another wound on top of so many. "I tried to tell you," she said. "After the fire, after they blamed you. I tried. But the town didn't keep you from me, Claire." She lowered her eyes. "I was afraid. They were threatening me, the store, everything. If I stood up for you, I'd lose it all." Elias's jaw tensed. You didn't stand up for us. Silence. But I never stopped loving you, she whispered. He stepped forward slowly. And now you need me again? Claire looked up, tears glinting. No, the children do. This isn't about my guilt. This is about their safety. And Cole isn't finished. That name again. Cole Mercer. Elias's breath grew heavier. He was just a kid when I took him in. He wanted to be good. Claire nodded. And now he wants to be feared. Elias ran a hand over his stubbled jaw. The star on his chest felt heavier. I have to finish this. Claire's eyes widened. You'll go alone? No. He walked to the door. I'll bring them justice. But this time, I'm not doing it without the town behind me. The next morning, Elias stood in the center of Main Street, hands raised. The entire town gathered, hesitant, nervous, guilty. You left me once, he said calmly. But now your children are at risk. Your lives are on borrowed time. I can't fight Cole Mercer alone, and I won't. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then someone stepped forward. Old Man Weller, the blacksmith. Thick hands, soot-streaked apron. I remember what they did to you, Sheriff. And I say it's about damn time we made it right. Then another stepped up. And another? By noon, the town had a plan. And Elias Hart had something stronger than any badge. He had his people back. They met in the church, not for prayer, though plenty would come before it was over. Elias stood at the front, chalk on the blackboard, drawing lines across a hand-drawn map of the canyon. Townsfolk sat in pews, rifles across their laps, jaws tight. Cole's men will expect a frontal assault, Elias said, tapping the narrow trail. So we'll give them noise from the front, but send our best shots through the East Ridge. Surprise and height wins this. He looked out across familiar faces, some older, some ashamed, but none turned away this time. Claire entered last, her son and daughter waiting safely with Miss Greta. She carried her late father's revolver, worn, well-oiled, and never drawn in anger. Until now, Elias's gaze met hers across the pews. No words, but she nodded. They were in this together. That night the town didn't sleep. Guns were cleaned, horses saddled, mothers kissed foreheads. And Elias? He sat outside the church alone, the old badge in his palm, tracing its edges with a thumb calloused by 10 years of silence. He'd left this town once with a fire behind him. Now he'd ride toward one, with the people beside him. Dawn. The posse rode out, 20 strong. Elias led, wind lifting the tails of his coat, hat low over his brow. Claire rode just behind, rifle slung and spine straight. The trail to the canyon was quiet, until it wasn't. Gunfire split the morning. Cole's men had spotted them. The first shots came wild, warning bursts, panic. Elias raised his fist. Hold the line! From the ridge, Old Man Weller and the sharpshooters opened fire. 2 of Cole's men dropped. Horses bucked and bolted. Confusion erupted. Elias charged straight through. The canyon mouth opened like a grave, and in the center stood Cole Mercer. He hadn't changed much, just meaner, leaner. A scar beneath one eye that Elias remembered giving him. You came! Cole shouted, arms wide. Back to save the same cowards that burned you? I didn't come for them, Elias said. I came for you. Cole laughed bitterly. You always thought you were better, but I was just doing what you wouldn't, taking what we were owed. You weren't owed their children. Cole's smirk faded. I taught you to be better, Elias said. You chose worse. Then came silence. Both men stood, dust swirling, memories between them. Then they drew. Elias was faster. The shot hit Cole square in the shoulder, spun him to the ground. He cursed, tried to lift his gun again, but Claire was there, her revolver cocked. I think we're done running. Cole dropped the gun. By noon, the fight was over. 4 of Cole's men dead, the rest captured or scattered. And Clearwater? Clearwater stood, together. Back in town, Claire walked beside Elias as cheers rose from porches and windows. Maggie ran into his arms. Sam stood beside him, proud. Elias looked at the sky, then at the people. They hadn't just remembered him. They chose him, again. The town square never looked like this before. Bunting strung from balconies. People hugging. Laughter where there used to be whispers. Kids ran through the dust with wooden stars pinned to their vests, mimicking the man who'd become a legend all over again. And Elias Hart? He stood at the edge of it all, leaning against the post outside the general store, watching, quietly. He hadn't stayed in one place this long in a decade. Claire found him there, arms crossed, her dress still smudged from the fight in the canyon. You know they're going to ask, she said softly. I already know what it is. They want you back. Elias nodded, not looking up. Funny how quick folks remember what you meant when trouble knocks. Claire's voice dropped to a whisper. They remember now. That's what matters. He turned, finally meeting her eyes. What about you, Claire? Do you remember what we were? She hesitated, then reached into her pocket, pulled out something small. A folded letter, yellowed, torn at the corners. You wrote this the night before they exiled you. I found it after, but I wasn't brave enough to read it until Sam was born. She handed it to him. Elias unfolded the paper slowly. His own handwriting. A decade-old farewell. It read only one thing. I'll stop loving you the day this town stops needing a sheriff. She watched his face as he read, watched it soften. I'm not asking you to wear the badge again for them, Claire said, but maybe wear it for him. She gestured toward the porch, where Sam stood holding Elias's old hat in both hands. Maybe wear it for us. That night, the town gathered in front of the courthouse. Mayor Granger held the old silver star between both palms, eyes wet with apology. You didn't deserve what we did to you, Elias, but you came back anyway. The people hushed. Granger stepped aside. Claire stood next to Sam and Maggie. Elias stepped forward. He took the star, held it up, then pinned it to his vest. The town roared, but Elias only looked at Claire, then down at Sam. Think you're ready to ride with me someday? He asked, kneeling. Sam grinned. Only if you teach me how to shoot straight. I will, Elias smiled. And maybe how to walk away from a fight, too. Later that night, when the fire died down and the crowd thinned, Elias and Claire stood at the edge of the celebration. She leaned into his side, voice low. So what happens now? He kissed the top of her head. Now? He whispered. Now I stop running. Peace in Clearwater never lasted long. 2 weeks after Elias pinned the star to his chest again, a letter arrived. No signature, no return. Just a single sheet. You're chasing the wrong man. The vote didn't come from the people, it came from the top. Follow the ledger. Find the truth. Elias read it twice, then burned it. He didn't want to stir old ghosts. But some ghosts don't stay buried. He returned to the old courthouse basement the next morning. The records room hadn't been touched in years. Dust piled thick, ledgers stacked high, boxes cracked at the seams. It didn't take long to find what he was looking for. The vote ledger from 10 years ago, the one that ousted him after the fire. His name was written in black ink. Below it, a dozen signatures, but half of them were forged. He showed the book to Claire that night. She traced the names with her fingers. Judge Harlan, Councilman Pike, Sheriff Gaines. They were all part of the old land company. Elias nodded. The same company Cole Mercer mentioned before we faced him. They framed you, she said softly. You were never meant to survive the vote. He turned away, his voice low, and the town let them. But one name stood out, Albert Doolin, a wealthy rancher who vanished the same week Elias was exiled. No one questioned it. Said he took a job in Denver. But the ledger showed a payment, large and undocumented, made to his account just 2 days before the vote. It was a bribe. Elias rode out at dawn, following a trail that hadn't been touched in years. Denver was too clean, too far. But there was another place, a remote estate near the Colorado border, bought under a false name. Elias arrived 2 days later, and there he was, Albert Doolin, grayer, thinner, but the same calculating eyes. I wondered how long it would take, Doolin said as Elias dismounted. I'm not here for revenge, Elias replied. No, Doolin said, stepping forward with a smirk. You're here for truth. But the truth don't matter in towns like Clearwater. People want comfort. They want someone to blame. I gave them you. Elias said nothing, just reached into his coat, pulled out the forged vote ledger, and dropped it at Doolin's feet. You're going to sign a confession, Doolin laughed. I'm not signing anything. Elias took a step closer. Then I'll ride back with this ledger, and the law will do the rest. Doolin's face twisted. You still think the law works? Elias's voice was cold. It works as long as I wear the star. Back in Clearwater, the confession was read aloud. The truth rippled through the town like thunder. Shame, relief, and something else. Hope. The man they abandoned wasn't just innocent. He was the only one who never stopped protecting them, even when they didn't deserve it. Claire met him on the porch that night, the sky glowing pink behind her. You keep saving this town, Elias. He smiled faintly. Guess I still remember how. She stepped closer. Well then, she whispered, maybe it's time someone saved you. Summer faded into fall. Clearwater changed with the seasons. Fences mended, children laughed again, and the sheriff's office no longer stood empty. Elias walked its wooden floors daily now, not as a ghost from the past, but as a man with purpose. Sam came by every morning, sweeping dust from the porch like it was the most important job in the world. Maggie brought her father a tin of coffee from the store each Friday, beaming. And Claire? Claire sat with Elias each night beneath the porch light, sometimes speaking, sometimes just listening to the wind roll through the sagebrush. They were becoming something new. Not what they once were, but what they always could have been. Then came the fire. One crisp evening, smoke curled over the northern ridge. Elias smelled it before he saw it. Not the soft wood smoke of a hearth, but sharp, bitter, intentional. Riders appeared an hour later, 3 men. black coats, faces hidden by scarves. They didn't attack, not yet. They left a note nailed to the sheriff's door. "We burn what you protect. Walk away, Hart, or we finish what Doolin started." Elias didn't sleep that night. He sat alone in the office, star glinting in lamplight, eyes locked on the horizon where orange flickers danced like devils in the dark. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the town. About the people who finally chose to stand with him. About 2 children who called him Papa when no one told them to. And about Claire, the woman who chose him now with eyes wide open. By morning, Elias had a plan. He rode to every homestead with a warning, formed watch groups, posted lookouts on every ridge. Then he gathered the people in the square, just like the day they took back their town. "I'm not asking you to fight," he said. "Not unless you choose to. But I'll stand in front of you again, like I should have years ago." No one left. Not one. That night, the attackers came. But Clearwater was ready. Gunfire lit the dark. Traps Elias had placed sent horses scattering. Townsfolk stood their ground. From rooftops behind barrels through windows, Elias rode straight into the fire. Bullets whistled past him, one grazed his arm. He didn't stop. He met the leader at the edge of town. Tall, quiet, scar over his mouth. "Who sent you?" Elias demanded, revolver raised. The man laughed. "You think this ends with us? You've stirred something bigger than you can clean." Then he vanished into the smoke, fleeing into the hills. By dawn, Clearwater still stood, blackened, scorched in places, but standing. And Elias? He stood on the same steps he once walked away from, covered in ash, blood on his sleeve, heart beating not from fear, but from something stronger. Claire came to him, eyes wet but shining. "You said you'd stop running." "I meant it," she smiled. "Then maybe it's time to start building something." He reached for her hand, held it. "I'd like that." Winter touched Clearwater with soft white hands. Snow dusted the rooftops. Children's laughter echoed through streets once haunted by silence. The past had settled like footprints under fresh snowfall, still there but no longer leading. Elias Hart stood at the edge of Main Street, watching the sun rise through frost-laced glass. He'd seen this view many times in his life, but never like this. This time he was home. In the sheriff's office, a new desk had been built. Sam helped with the hammering. Maggie painted a badge on the door with gold paint and a steady hand. Elias left his old star there one morning. In its place he placed another, a smaller one, crafted from silver and wood. A symbol, not of power but of renewal. The townsfolk offered to rebuild the jail, expand the stable, even put up a statue of Elias in the square. He refused all of it. "Statues are for dead men," he said, half smiling. "I've still got work to do." At night, the fire in Claire's hearth never died. Elias slept in the room that used to be hers, now theirs. He read books aloud to the children and fixed the squeaky floorboard he once stepped over during midnight patrols. He kissed Claire every night, not like someone remembering what was lost, but like someone who had chosen to stay. Then came the letter from the governor's office. Official recognition, a full pardon, commendation for bravery, and a request. "We'd be honored if Sheriff Elias Hart would represent the Western Territories at the peace conference this spring." He read it once, folded it, set it on the mantel. When Claire asked if he'd go, he shook his head. "I've ridden too many trails chasing justice for other men. I've got justice enough right here." That spring, Elias stood under the blooming sycamore tree just outside town. Claire beside him, Maggie holding flowers, Sam straightening his tiny vest. The town gathered. Pastor Will spoke kindly. Then quietly, in the arms of the woman who waited too long but never let go, Elias and Claire said their vows. The town cheered. Children danced. The sheriff kissed his bride. And for once, no shadows followed. That night, Elias stood on the porch with Sam and Maggie asleep inside. Claire leaned against his chest. "Think the West will leave us alone now?" she whispered. He smiled. "No, but it can try." She laughed. "What'll we do if trouble rides in again?" Elias kissed her hair. "We'll saddle up as a family." Clearwater's legend wasn't written in blood or fire anymore. It was written in second chances, in hands held instead of drawn guns, in a sheriff who didn't just return, but chose to stay.